Thank you for visiting Caption Media. I'm here to talk about the recently released movie Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Let's get started. As of June the 9th, 2023, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts has grossed $25.6 million in the United States and Canada, and $1.1 million in other territories, for a worldwide gross of $26.7 million. The movie was released in theatres on June the 9th, 2023. You'll be completely safe if you want to see the movie without knowing anything about it, because we won't give any spoilers away here. Now that's all taken care of, let's get started. Rise of the Beasts, directed by Steven Caple Jr, who also directed Creed 2, transports the action to the 1990s. This episode, which features characters from the adored Beast Wars spin-off, takes the Autobots on a global excursion while introducing a brand new faction of Transformers called the Maximals to join them as allies in the ongoing conflict for Earth. The human cast is led by Dominique Fishback of Project Power and Anthony Ramos of In the Heights. Any entertainment series eventually develops a set of cliches throughout the course of its run. This may or may not be a good thing. The live-action Transformers films have not fared well throughout the years. The series was immediately criticised, in this case for being loud and unclear, to the point where it was made fun of on The Good Place. The reports have come under fire for being confusing and inconsistent. It's debatable if these movies are good or bad, but when the 2018 Bumblebee film came out, it seemed like an opportunity to change people's perceptions of what a Transformers movie should be. In comparison to its predecessors, this film had a lower budget, fewer characters, and a stronger character focus. Numerous favourable responses from critics were also received. When it was revealed that there would be a sequel, fans were ambivalently excited and concerned that the new movie may revert to the spectacle over content movies of the past. More robots were present in the first teaser trailer, which also suggested an action that was more in line with previous episodes of the series. In addition, some people anticipated that the film would be emotionally flat, which is understandable given that the preceding 5 films occasionally struggled with this part of their own plots. To be clear, I've enjoyed every live-action Transformers movie that has been released so far. Personally, I found much to enjoy in each movie. Without a doubt, of all the films created so far, Rise of the Beast spends the most time with the Transformers robots, which are the best looking and most entertaining. More often than not, the Transformers are there on screen, but it never grows boring to see them, even with some much appreciated slow motion shots for more robot awesomeness. The audience is provided largely fast-paced, visceral entertainment in between confrontations that range from great to overdone. Compared to other situations that could have been extremely dramatic, but went by without a single tear from the characters, there are quite a few jaw-dropping scenes between Unicron and Scourge. While some battle sequences featured amazing savagery and expertise, other situations switched individuals' abilities, which didn't have those. The year 1994 is marked by the arrival of Unicron, a new menace to the cosmos. In order to preserve the Earth and perhaps the entire universe, the Great Scourge sends his minions to Earth, where they are joined by the Autobots and Maximals. To stop them, they must work with a former soldier and an archaeologist. A single Decepticon was introduced in the first act of the original 2007 Transformers movie, and the teams were gradually built up before a significant fight involving numerous bots and cons. In stark contrast, this movie gets off to an explosive start, introducing us to a number of characters right away and introducing its villains and a new MacGuffin within the first 10 minutes. The film then shifts gears to introducing us to our human protagonists. For many fans, this is often the part of the film while they are bored, while possibly checking out for a brief nap. However, this film manages to give us stories for both Noah Diaz, played by Anthony Ramos, and Alina Wallace, played by Dominique Fishback, that immediately make them sympathetic figures and you want to root for both of them. They are both underdogs trying to make it in their respective worlds. Ramos plays the older brother to Chris, played by Dean Scott Vasquez, and the two play off each other very well. You immediately care about their relationship, and it drives a large portion of the story. Fishback gives us an intelligent and smart, aspiring archaeologist who will play a significant role in saving the world. Concerning oneself with human beings is one thing, but what about the robots? We are made to care about a number of the Autobots and Maximals in a fantastic way by the movie. This film increases the emotional emphasis to include Optimus Prime, played by Peter Cullen, Optimus Primal, played by Ron Perlman, Mirage, played by Pete Davidson, and, surprise, Aerosol, played by Michelle Yeoh, in contrast to the Bumblebee movie, which centred on the emotional journey of the main character. Optimus Prime experiences an emotional journey in this movie, and the movie starts off with him in a bad place. Peter Cullen excels in his role as Optimus Prime, as always, and you believe every word that the Autobot leader says. With Aerosol as his compassionate and wise counsel, Primal offers some interesting contrast to his namesake. The two characters play off each other well, and while it's unlikely that Perlman and Yeoh ever worked together in the same studio, I thought their interaction was one of the most interesting in the movie. Much for the advertising for this movie is focused on Noah's friendship with Mirage, which stands in for the more conventional live-action car-robot-human relationship. Although it may be debatable, I thought the Bumblebee-Charlie team-up from the Bumblebee movie was rivaled by the friendship between Mirage and Noah, and perhaps even surpassed it. Mirage gives the impression of being a youthful hotshot with a decent heart, and he makes use of Noah's more sombre personality in poignant and amusing ways. Michael Bay's technique frequently included a humanised view of a conflict, placing you right in the middle of the action, although it might occasionally be difficult to discern what was actually happening. Unlike in this movie where the camera pans out quite a bit, providing you a fantastic view of the characters engaged in combat and how various manoeuvres relate to one another. The fights in this movie are heavily emphasised on melee, with Optimus Prime and the Maximals typically using only their fists or weapons, like Optimus Prime's renowned axe. The Terracons employ both with lethal effectiveness, while the other Autobots frequently use energy weapons and blasters. Overall, melee fighting makes every blow and blade strike feel more visceral and occasionally terrifying as you fear for our heroes. This kind of discontinuity was felt in the music and sound design as well. The giant robots hardly made any sounds, explosions, and dramatic music was too quiet when it needed to be loud. And the pop music was overbearing in some scenes where it just needed to set the mood. When as much as 50% of a movie depends on sound, it's a problem when there's no explanation for who, how and why these various characters and their factions are together in the movie. Some of the most potent and effective antagonists in this franchise so far are the Terracons. I was more frightened by the Terracon leader, Scourge, played by Peter Dinklage, than Megatron ever had been in any previous movie. Battletrap, played by David Sobolov, and Nightbird, played by Michaela J. Rodriguez, two of his followers, are frightfully proficient fighters who never display any sign of fear or worry while they engage in combat with both Autobots and Maximals. It was important for the Autobots and Maximals to work together to defeat these baddies. Through and through, these people are terrible. They do not fit the definition of misunderstood anti-heroes or characters with a redemptive journey. After 6 films, we have to accept that these films are more like one-off episodes than cinematic works of art. Rise of the Beasts is more like an extended cartoon episode than an epic storytelling that reveals the incredible lore of the Transformers. It assumes that we already know these characters and jumps right into the action without having to explain things. In light of this, we can only accept Transformers Rise of the Beasts for what it is, a modernised, light adaptation of Transformers that presents these extraterrestrial entities in a way that newbies can understand. This is something the film excels at, and is certainly worth seeing just for the heavy metal battles alone. For the benefit of all fans, Rise of the Beasts is aware of the criticism of the film since 2007, and it seems like they have paid attention. This movie wants to entertain its audience by telling a funny story and showing action, but it also keeps in mind that it needs to make the viewers care about the characters. It's not seeking to be a revolution, and neither is it one. However, it shows that with the right approach, even the most straightforward concepts may have a deeper resonance. In essence, what we get is an unapologetic version of the original War of the Worlds tale. Although it is interesting and the combat sequences are fantastic, there are some unbalanced moments. Anyone who's seen a lot of Transformers programming understands that the human parts always feel out of place given the size and breadth of the situation. In my opinion, Rise of the Beast is still lacking in this area. For the time being, Bonaventura is clear that the goal is to include the G.I. Joe characters into the upcoming Transformers film, rather than taking the MonsterVerse route of developing each property separately and setting the groundwork for a future crossover. According to Bonaventura, I never really understand what people mean by a crossover. I'll sum it up by saying that if it's a Transformers movie with Joes as the main characters, therefore it will be a sequel to this film. The extent to which the Joes organically integrate into the sequel to this film would be determined. Regardless of what happens next, we have just entered a bigger universe. We are aware that a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover will eventually happen, and as the saying goes, knowledge is power. Few story aspects in the movie may be the only new things you observe, depending on how well you have followed the promotion. The movie is packed with robot action, which is both good and awful, but it's a very tiny part centred on the same people we've already met in the previews, and Hasbro's toys that are available in stores. Despite all of that, watching Transformers Rise of the Beasts is entertaining. It maintains a pleasing look throughout. It manages to balance human concerns with alien robot combat just right, and it features what may be the year's best action conclusion. I give the film Transformers Rise of the Beasts 3 out of 5 stars overall because of the fantastic combat robot action, but I can't help but have problems with the shoddy writing, bad acting, and subpar soundtrack. Please leave a comment below if you've seen the movie. I'm going to dash now. I'll see you shortly. Have a good one.